Hey everybody, we are for skill number 3 today. Alright, and so today is going to be about using our document while we are writing our DBQ. Alright, so for this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the rubric again, go back and look at what is going on with the documents in there so that we know what are the things we got to do. We're going to review our little mini rubric post-it, alright, because this is definitely something I highly encourage you guys to do. Alright, it's a really easy way to make a quick checklist so that way when you are writing, you're good to go, you know exactly what you got to do, and did you do all of the different things that are needed. Alright, I'm also going to give you guys a few updates on information we've been finding out from College Board about what's going on with these DBQs. Alright, so with that, let's get started with a little bit of that, and then we'll go to the rubric, and then we'll do some practice here and there. Right, so College Board said in their latest announcement and everything like that, there was a big old webinar, right? Me and Miss Beeman were there. There was lots of things happening. It was a little nuts. But one of the things that they did say in there, right? And again, we'll go over, we'll have a separate video where we go over all the like, what do I got to get ready for test day? What's going on? All those types of things, right? But one of the things to kind of focus on, since we're talking about this rubric here, right, is that they said that, remember, your essay is a rough draft, right? Okay, they want you to use your different skills properly and effectively. However, since you only got 45 minutes to write and then a 5-minute upload period, which they really want you to go ahead and upload in that 5 minutes in case there is some sort of delay or drag in your internet access and stuff like that. You aren't necessarily going to have enough time to write a full essay like you would in a traditional sense. They know that. We know that. That's probably the thing that's probably been stressing you out the most. I know I have, because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not really a lot of time, right? So that's why we're going to go over our rubric, make sure we know all the things. But they even said if you didn't finish writing the full essay, but you did enough of the different things to get a good quality kind of point check off on this little list, that still means you could get a 5. So that was like huge news, and hopefully that's something to give you guys a little bit of confidence here and there that the College Board, from College Board's mouth, they said if you don't write the full essay but you did all the things correctly, you could still get a 5. Now, how many points on this little rubric bad boy that means, we have no idea. Okay, they did not release that information. I doubt they will release that information anytime because, you know, secret, hush, hush. But that gives us confidence that if we do all the skills we know how to do and we do them well, we're going to be okay, right? So, again, we'll have a separate video later on of like how all the different things of how to get into the exam, all the different technical things, etc. I'll make one of those later once we get kind of all the different nuances figured out. But don't worry about that stuff. If you're not getting College Board emails, don't worry about it. Basically, as long as you can log in to my AP, you're fine. Everything will be there. So if you're not getting emails, don't stress, all right? Okay, it's just another way for them to communicate what is already in your My AP, okay? So that's the big thing that we're definitely going to make sure you guys are working on later on, but right now we're just going to work on our skills, okay? All right, and we'll go from there. So let's look at the rubric first. Now, where would I find all this stuff? Okay, so here I'm going to my blog. All right, I made a new page for us, all right, APUSH Exam 2020, all right, and this is where all of this review stuff is. This is what I've been sending you guys in a remind. If you have not been here yet, you kind of have to do that, all right? Okay, so what I got, let's look through here real quick. All right, I got the schedule for all the classes, all right? Okay, we got our basic stuff, and again, I'm going to obviously only focus on our class, all right? Our basic stuff for our class. We got our exam day set up, so it's like, what are the things that you need to have? These first 3 things are from me, and then we got some videos from College Board of how to walk through the exam, kind of like what it's supposed to look like, right? They have an exam day checklist. They actually wanted everybody to print this out. If you have access to a printer, go ahead and print it. If you don't, make yourself kind of like a little post-it of like, here's the major things I need to have, and record information, etc. Because again, I'm with you guys. I don't have access to printers and things like that, so I'm going to make a post-it or like a small list, right? So that's all here. This is an exam demo, right? It literally is going to have a way for you to log into what it literally will look like. It's going to give you some examples to like, hey, how does this upload? When you cut and paste things, it'll just cut and paste them statically, which means that once it's pasted in, you can't edit it. So these are things to definitely, I would say, to do this. They also said for this exam demo that you should definitely try it, and if it doesn't open up, then there's something wrong with whatever search engine you're using. So like if you use Internet Explorer, first off, it's 2020. Get with the times. Internet Explorer is not going to work with this, right? You gotta have Chrome, Firefox, or Safari are the ones that they are saying are going to work with it. This is definitely something to try out as soon as possible, so we're not waiting till right before the exam and it's like, oh my gosh, things are not working, okay? And then here's the thing, if you do want to try to get those emails from College Board, again, they're not required because everything's going to be in your My AP Classroom, but here's a little quick thing on how to do all that stuff, right? So that's our exam day stuff. Here is going to be our YouTube video, so the one that you're watching right now, I'm going to put right here on document usage, right? But we got the rubric here, that's what we're going to look at here in a moment, right? And go over, and then you can see I'm going to have other videos here as well. Our DBQ practices, right? We've already had this one, number 1. You know, again, it's one of those things where if you're in spring semester, these are going to be considered grades that you are going to do. If you're from fall semester, these are to help you practice. So you get to pick and choose what you want to do for your practice. It's one of those things, I would try as many as you can, right? It's not going to hurt you, right? But our next practice here is due on the 1st, which is today is when I'm recording this. And so it's due at midnight, and then the other ones I already put up here. So we have one that's on period 5, on period 4, and period 6, sorry, and period 7. So they're all on here ready to go. If you are like, okay, I want to work on this one or work on that one, go ahead and do them, right? There's nothing where you have to do it on the 12th, right? You could do them today if you wanted to. And then there's some motivational videos. The other things I got on here, since we're on here and might as well go ahead and look, these are all the videos from College Board that are the professor and teacher reviews on these different time periods. Now, I also threw in some Josh Production review ones. These are a little shorter, but the ones that I really would want you to focus on if you haven't done any review at all, right, is going to be these ones from College Board, because they were told certain things to cover, right, from College Board, the people making the test. So if they're specifically covering certain things, and they also are going to have documents in these that they're going to go over, and they're going to go over document usage and all these other skills as well in these videos, if they're talking about something, that means it's important, right? So I would definitely use those. Again, they're not going to be super exciting, and they're about 45 minutes to an hour long, but it's one of those things that at least if you're listening to them, all right, you're getting some information going on. So that's what's all on this page in the blog. This is going to be your one-stop shop for all things for our exam. So the thing we're going to look at right now, again, getting back to our main topic, right, is going to be that rubric, okay? So when you click on that rubric, this is what is going to pop up, okay? Let me get rid of this little extra here. All right, so for our AP rubric, all right, I've already put up videos for thesis and contextualization, right? Okay, you guys have done those quite a bit. Everyone should get these, right? Okay, this should not be an issue for anybody. If you have questions, please send me those questions. But again, these different things they have in the decision rules are going to give you a little bit more information on what to do for those. But we've practiced those a ton. Everybody should be good, okay? As a side note, if you wanted to do a contextualization paragraph for each of the time periods 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and save those on your computer that you made over that particular time period, it's your work. You could use that for the exam because it's your work and it's that time period. So might be a good option for some of us, right? You can't just use it from someone else or share it with someone else, because obviously that was going to set off a lot of their security features that they have been talking about. And again, we'll talk more about security features when we get more towards actually what's happening with the test itself, okay? All right, so the part we are going to look at today is section C, which is our evidence, okay? All right, and so this is evidence from the documents. right? So when we looked at our little mini post-it rubric, and we talked about this, right, is that we're looking at the points we can get for our documents. Okay, so right now we have three potential points happening here for documents. Okay, all right, so 1 point, use the context of at least 2 documents to address the topic. This is going to be the idea of describing documents, right? And it says at least 2, so that means we should do 3, right? When we're talking about describing a document, you're basically telling what it is about, okay? Right? You don't need to say, according to document 1, it says blah, 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 all right? You don't need to put document 1. If you want to put in parentheses at the end, doc 1, that's fine. That's a good way for you to check off that you did it, right? But again, we just need to do it for 2, but since we want to make sure we're guaranteeing that 1 point, might as well do it for 3. Okay, and describing a document is really easy. It's a fairly low-level skill. Okay, the second point we can get, right, is where you support an argument in response to the prompt using 2 documents. Okay, so right now we're describing 2. Now we're going to use 2 to help our argument. Okay, right. Then you could get a third point, which we talked about this little third point here as maybe something I necessarily might not do. Just because I might not have time, right? Is that instead of just using 2 for my argument, I'm going to use 4 for my argument, okay? Now, this is not something that I'm saying you guys aren't able to do. I'm just saying that with the time constraint, this might be very difficult. And why work harder for 1 point when I could be also doing other things that are a little easier in my time frame to get points, okay? And our whole point is to get as many points as possible. Right, so we're going to focus on this part here, this evidence from the document, so the description and the argument part, kind of look at the difference, right? Then one of the things that we talked about earlier was your evidence beyond the documents. This is your outside information, okay? And you got to have 2, you can get 2 points here, right? This is really easy. This is definitely something to practice. And again, since we can get 2 points for 2 pieces of outside evidence, we want to try 3. Right, again, locking that in, right? So these are really easy things we can do. We just can't have it as a piece of evidence that is in the documents already, because then it's not outside evidence, right? And that should make sense. So right here, just messing with stuff with the documents here, we should be able to get 1 point, 2 points really easily, and then pieces beyond the documents, that outside evidence, 2 points here as well. And again, you could get this 5th point here, but that one might be a little bit more complicated, right? Right now, we're not going to talk about the analysis of our documents, right? We're going to do stuff like that in another video, okay? So we're going to wait on that, and then we have the complexity, which is the last point, and we'll talk about that one in a separate video as well, right? Now, this particular video is going to be a little longer just because, again, we're talking about documents. Some of the classes haven't had a lot of time to do stuff with documents, or it's been a really big, gap here, and we do need to review. So let's kind of get started here. Okay, so hang on, gotta toggle to the right thing. Right, so here we go. All right, so this is the DBQ I'm going to use for looking at our documents today, also looking at the document analysis and the complexity. Okay, so switching it up to a different topic. Right, so here this question for our DBQ is evaluate major changes in the attitudes towards and the experiences of women and minorities. Right, and we got 5 documents here, just like we've seen in other things. Right, when you actually have your DBQ, the one thing we do know is that of those 5 documents, only 1 will be non-text. Right, so that means on this one, how we have a poster, a photograph, and a chart. That's not what we would see. We would only see 1 of those. The rest of it all would be text. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind, right? For this particular exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the images and that sort of thing, just to make life a little bit easier, to give us some good examples, right? So for document 1, if we are describing document 1, right, okay, we have a poster, right, that is trying to recruit people for enlistment in the military, and this is obviously targeted at African Americans. So that's what it's doing, okay, right? That is describing the document. Right, now if we're using this for argument, obviously our argument is our thesis, so it's really hard for us to figure out what we would have here as an example for supporting that argument, but it would be like we're using this document. It's like they're recruiting African Americans because, right, and it's using that in your argument. Okay, if we look at another one here, We have a photograph here of women working. They look like they have welding helmets on, and it says women are welders. Discuss the promotion of motor mounts and welded parts in a welding booth at the Inglewood, California plant of North America Aviation. Right, so we have women working in the workforce, right? So when we're describing this, right, okay, it's literally just what is going on, right? So women are working in an aviation plant, right? And so that means that they are going to work, right? And then and taking these factory jobs where they didn't really have them before, right? So from there, right, you would use this in your argument. How is this going to help your argument, okay? Right, and that's what is going to get you that second point, okay? Our last one here we're going to look at real quick, and then again I'll give you some examples, right, is that it has men in the workforce is going down, women in the workforce is going up, right? You're describing this particular chart, what's going on. In your argument, you could talk about how it's like, well, men are off at war, therefore women have to go to work in order to support their families and support their husbands and boyfriends off at war, right, because they need the supplies. You can use that as part of that argument. So your argument is explaining why we're using this to help us out, right, and your description is just what is going on with that document, okay? So, hang on. Again, toggling through different things. I'm trying to figure stuff out. So, here's an example, all right? Okay, I'm kind of taking this example from another AP teacher and then I'm putting it into my own personal experience. So, to think of something to be described, right? If you have a curfew of midnight, okay, right, and you are late, okay, if you're describing the situation, right, this actually happened, this is a true situation. I got in trouble because I was late on curfew because there was a horse in the middle of the road. I'm not making this up, okay? It's a funny thing, but that it kind of makes you guys think about what's going on. So I've described the event that happened. I'm late because there was a horse in the road, all right? That's all I'm doing. I'm describing, okay? Now I'm arguing, so this is the argument part, that there was a horse in the road and I was trying to be safe by going slow. Therefore, I should not be punished for being late. I'm using that description to help my argument, right? Think of the idea, therefore. That's a really good word to be using, right? It's good to use in your thesis statements, right? You could use other words in your thesis statements as well, but this is a good thing to say. It's like, my argument is I shouldn't be punished, right? And I'm using the description of the event, that there was a horse in the road, right? And now I'm saying why there was a horse in the road and I ended up being late is because of safety, okay? Because it was taking up the entire road. It was a big horse, okay? Horses are not small, right? And therefore it shouldn't be punished, right? So here is the idea of describing what happened, and then you have the why that happened, okay? Using that to support my argument, okay? So this is something to think of, right, when you are looking at these documents, right? One is what, the other part is why. Okay, so if we go to our rubric, right, I'm going to toggle over again so we can see what's happening, right? So here's my little mini rubric that I made, right, on my Post-it. Again, I would definitely highly encourage you guys to do this, right? It's really helpful. It's very short. It's an easy way to make sure we're doing all the things we need to do. Okay, again, we already talked about these things at the top, right? So here, 2 documents addressing topic, that is going to be your describe. So I'm actually going to add that in there. Describe, okay, right? I got to describe 2 documents. Again, I'm going to use 3 just in case I mess one up. I'm locking in that point. Done. That is pretty darn easy, okay? Right? Your argument part is going to be a little higher, right, of difficulty, but again, not that bad, right? You again are only going to pick the documents that are going to suit your argument. So I'm going to have 2 documents that I'm using to argue my thesis. So I'm going to put up here, argue my thesis. All right, again, I want to try 3 to again lock in that point, because if I do one well and then the other one I mess up on, oh, all right, I did all that and I'm not going to get a point, right? And that would be awful, right? So again, I'm going to do 3. Okay, if I was doing awesome with these documents, all the documents make sense to me, right? Then I'm going to go for 4 documents, okay? Right, because then I could get a second point. And again, this is 4 documents with that argument, right? Now, since there's 4, and again, if you mess up one, you should do 5, which would be all the documents, okay? I crossed this out earlier in our other video when we looked at the rubric because I think that this is going to depend on what those documents are, right? If I get documents that I am like, okay, I've seen all these documents before, I know what they're all talking about, I probably might attempt this one. But again, 45 minutes for those people that have already done the practice DBQs, right? We're doing them in Office 365 because it gives you a timestamp, right? Some of us have been really good about getting that done in a timely manner. Other people have been taking a really long time. Again, this is practice. You can take a little longer bout of time, but this might be hard to do in that 45-minute time period, okay? So this is something that if I personally am taking this exam, I'll keep this on my little post-it rubric here, but I'm gonna maybe, do a little line in a different color there just because I'm not gonna focus on this one, okay? All right, so right now what we have talked about so far in our other videos, contextualization, thesis, outside information. Again, we're going to try 3 instead of 2, right? Documents where we're describing what's going on. Again, we're going to 3 instead of 2, right? 2 documents for our argument. We're going to try 3 instead of 2. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10 points, right? That is pretty darn good, okay? So again, that idea of like this one here, I wouldn't stress about this one personally, okay? Because that might be hard if I don't know what's going on with all those documents. And again, my time is limited, right? In our next video, what we'll talk about is that document analysis. This one definitely I think all of us can do. Again, we'll do 3, right? Okay, get those 2 checks. And if we do that, that's going to be an 8, right? And I'm going to give you guys some tips in another video here on complexity of how to attempt that. But again, that might be something we might not have time for either. Okay, so definitely one of your assignments I would definitely want you guys to do is make your little post-it, okay? All right, make this post-it, make it look just like this, or you can have it on a full sheet of paper if that makes you feel better, right? Do this to help you out while you are doing all of your things, okay? All right, so hopefully this has been helpful, all right? For your next 3 practices, for your DBQ, all right, you're going to have practice number 3 is over period 5, which is like your Civil War and Reconstruction, right? Practice number 4 is period 6, so that is the Gilded Age, right? And then practice number 5, the last one, is going to be on period 7. That is the imperialism time period with the progressives all the way through World War II. Right? So those are 3 different DBQs. For all of those ones, you're going to be using your document analysis, and you're going to be adding those documents in, right? If you choose to do complexity, right, that is up to you, but I would not do that until you get to those documents kind of locked in, right? If you are just doing them as practice, not for a grade, pick and choose which ones you want to do, okay? Right? It's really up to you. It's how much you want to practice. Again, set up a timer, have all your resource sheets for that particular time period out ready to go, just like you would be taking an actual exam. If you want to have a timer set up on your phone or on your watch, or have one of your siblings or your parents be like, hey, I need you to time me right now. They're allowed to do that on the AP exam day, okay? You need somebody to be your timer, right? Because that time is going to go by really quickly. Okay, so that's definitely something to be practicing here. And again, these practices are to make you more prepared and feel more comfortable for the actual AP exam, right? So definitely do those. All right, I'm going to post another video here soon that's going to do with that document analysis. All right, and so if you're waiting to try those other DBQ practices until you've seen all the skill videos, that's totally fine, right? But again, make sure that you're doing that practice because that's the only way that after I read them, I will give you feedback. I will send you some feedback via Remind, right? And you'll get all your information that way. So until next time, guys, do your practices, get those resource sheets put together, make your little mini rubric, okay? Those are your tasks to do, right? If you do all the things that I'm recommending that you do, you will be fine. If you're slacking off and just be like, I'll just Google it, it'll be fine. They literally made it so you can't Google. You won't have time. So that's not going to help, right? So you need to prepare, right? If you're prepared, you'll be fine, okay? Promise, right? Until next time, guys, I will see you later, okay? Bye.